10 movie premieres that are already available online in good quality. Vampires, scouts, the return of heroes, and unusual dramas are waiting for you. Among this list are movies that are easy to miss, but definitely shouldn't be. Let's get started. The Amateur. This is a leisurely but riveting spy thriller starring Rami Malek. He got the role of a CIA cryptographer whose life changes forever after a tragedy. His wife is killed in a terrorist attack in London. At first, he seeks an official investigation, but soon realizes that he will have to act himself. The protagonist is trained and goes on a personal hunt for criminals. Unlike standard streaming action movies, The Rookie stands out for its style. Here there are almost no spectacular shootouts. Instead, you are waiting for a focused story, at the center of which is an intelligent and principled man. The excellent work of the actors, especially Malek, the deep dialogues and the tense atmosphere make this movie a real discovery. Sinners, an unusual reinterpretation of the vampire genre, combining elements of horror, drama, action, and Western. The action takes place in the United States of the 1930s. Two brothers, war veterans, return to their hometown in search of a new life, but instead of tranquility, they encounter an ancient evil. Michael B. Jordan plays the lead role, and Jack Connell appears as the charismatic antagonist. This is not just a vampire story. It raises issues of racism, social pressure, and the struggle for freedom. The atmosphere is enhanced by blues-style music, and the visual style references old American cinema. Sinners is controversial. Some consider it a new word in the genre, others, an overrated tape. But one thing is clear, the movie will not leave you indifferent. It is bold, dark, and made with artistic taste. The Accountant 2, a sequel to the action movie that came out almost a decade ago. In the center of the plot, the same hero with autistic disorder, brilliantly played by Ben Affleck. He is a virtuoso with numbers, and no less virtuoso with his opponents. Jon Bernthal and J.K. Simmons rejoin the cast. The new story revolves around two brothers who will not only have to fight back armed mercenaries, but also to restore the lost connection between them. The picture keeps the right course. The viewer gets a dark and hard action, with a portion of worldly humor and a non-standard hero. Yes, the plot is a bit overloaded, and not all the lines connect logically, but the overall impression remains positive. This is not a revolution of the genre, but a strong sequel that deserves your attention. Predator, Killer of Killers. A new animated movie in the Predator universe from director Dan Trachtenberg, familiar to the audience from the recent Prey. The project is visualized by the Third Floor Studio. It was behind the effects for Gravity and Game of Thrones. The story is divided into 3 novellas, each focusing on the warrior's encounter with an extraterrestrial hunter. The first story, Scandinavia, the year 841, a Viking goes one-on-one with the Predator. The second is Japan in the 17th century. A ninja master meets an enemy superior in speed and strength. The third is Europe in 1941, where a pilot enters a deadly battle. Each Predator's opponent is unique, and each is dangerous in its own right. The finale ties all the lines together, giving the story closure and scope. The picture powerfully expands the boundaries of the familiar universe, adding dynamics, depth, and visual expressiveness. Bloody, spectacular, and respectful of the original. The Surfer, an unconventional psychological thriller with elements of absurdity and abstraction, in which Nicolas Cage once again proves that he is capable of surprising. The main character returns from the USA to Australia to buy back his grandfather's house and spend time with his son. Everything changes when the local surfers do not accept him back. They insult him, humiliate him, and force him to leave the beach. Gradually, the conflict turns into a personal war. The hero begins to fight not only for a place on the beach, but also for his identity. The tape is filled with symbols, psychosis, and paranoia. It refers to the cult film The Swimmer with Burt Lancaster and does not give simple answers. The viewer is immersed in a world of illusions, fractures, and inner bifurcation. Director Lorcan Finnegan is known for his surrealist works, and here he goes even further. an unusual, multi-layered movie that requires the viewer's attention and readiness for the unpredictable. The Friend, a warm and melancholy indie drama in which a simple story reveals deep themes of loss, loneliness, and acceptance. The movie is based on Sigrid Nunez's novel of the same name, which won the U.S. National Book Award. After the death of a close friend, a writer from New York unexpectedly becomes the guardian of his dog, a huge dog with a willful character. He not only occupies her apartment, but also disrupts the usual course of her life. As the plot develops, the heroine learns to build a new life and overcome her inner emptiness. The film organically combines quiet humor, sadness, and warmth. The role of Naomi Watts is filled with inner tension, and the participation of Bill Murray adds charisma. This is not a plot blockbuster, but a chamber, atmospheric movie that hooks you through the details. Predictability is appropriate here. It gives a sense of reliability and trust in the narrator. This is a story about how an animal can become a mirror of inner transformation. Until Dawn. Until Dawn is an adaptation of the cult game Until Dawn from director David F. Sandberg, familiar from horror films and superhero projects. A group of young people go in search of the sister of one of the heroines, who disappeared under strange circumstances. Their path leads them to a forgotten mining town. During a downpour, they take shelter in an abandoned tourist center, unaware that they are already being watched. From that moment on, they become a target for unknown assassins. However, things get complicated when events start to repeat themselves and the timelines seem to break. The story builds on the mechanics of the butterfly, where every action has consequences. Fear, survival, and the search for truth merge into one. Visually, the movie retains the atmosphere of the original game, but relies not only on scrimmages, but also on psychological tension. It's not a breakthrough in the genre, but a solid, dark, and engaging picture for fans of horror and game adaptations. Karina. This is the feature-length debut of producer Marianne Siegin, and at the same time the highest-grossing film in the history of Yakut cinema. Based on real events, the movie tells the story of 4-year-old Karina Chikatova, who was lost in the taiga in the summer of 2014. For several days, the whole republic followed her search. At the center of the story is not only the chronicle of the rescue operation, but also a deep emotional story of a child who found herself alone with the wilderness. The authors decided to supplement realism with a share of magical symbolism, which makes the story both honest and poetic. National flavor, language, traditions, northern aesthetics, is organically woven into every frame. Instead of the usual dramas of adult survival, here is the view of a little girl who does not fully realize what is happening. And this only makes the movie more frightening and touching. A sincere and visually expressive movie that tells about the fragility and resilience of human life. How to Make Millions Before Grandma Dies. A touching tragic comedy that became an unexpected hit in its native Thailand, where viewers usually prefer horror and action films. The story received widespread publicity after users began to share emotional responses in social networks. Videos with their reactions to the final movie went viral. The plot centers on a young, unsuccessful streamer who decides to move in with his sick grandmother, expecting to inherit her house and savings. However, many other relatives suddenly appear, and an unspoken struggle for her attention unfolds between them. The tape successfully combines humorous moments with truly touching scenes, raising important themes: loneliness and old age, indifference of the family, attempts to fix everything. The plot doesn't drag, and the emotional peaks are competently placed in the right places and at the right time. This is a movie that easily evokes tears, but does it honestly and without manipulation. A simple, human, and very kind movie. The Marching Band. French comedy drama successfully screened at Cannes and San Sebastian festivals, where it won the Audience Award. The plot centers on the story of two brothers who grew up apart. One has become a famous conductor, the other works in a factory and plays trombone in the local orchestra. Their paths cross when one of them needs an emergency organ transplant and decides to reconnect with his family man. From that moment begins the awkward but touching process of bringing two completely different men together. Despite the dramatic plot, the film is filled with light irony, sincere dialogues, and situations where everyday life is recognized. The film is constructed without cliches, and its emotional depth is revealed through simple scenes: a joint rehearsal, an argument about the past, an attempt to understand each other. This movie is not so much about music as about kinship, about how the notes of one melody can unite even the most distant people. That's all for today. If you found a movie to your liking, write in the comments and don't forget to subscribe. See you in new videos.